Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to be going for a 100 entropy gen run. Before we start, there's a new feature they added recently. You talk to Neo and now you can go to exchange supplies. You could do this up at one of the other characters up by the tactics boards before. You can buy and sell different like prototype analyzers and fragmented mines. That's always been there, but what they added in now is training preparation, where you can either buy buffs to start out with, or you can exclude certain buffs or debuffs from showing up in the run. It's mainly just a way to spend your AP if you've already gotten everything unlocked. I'm not going to be using it too heavily. I don't think you really need to. The game's already simple enough once you've gotten tactics and know what potentials to take for characters, so I don't really see a need to use these. But I will be probably allowing myself one buff per run, and in this case, I want to take Fast Kill MP Recovery. This buff is absolutely insane. Killing 3 enemies in less than 3 seconds restores 30 MP to you. So when I put this on a character like Jin, where I can have the cost of my skill down to 50 MP, I can basically just have an endless stream of mana as I kill regular enemies. For the 100 entropy run, I'm going to be taking Mixture Replenishment and Mixture Enhancement. I think out of all the healing options on the Mind Crystals, this is by far the best, because you can use HP mixtures at any time, even during boss fights, if you know when to use them. And then just the healing in general throughout the course of the run, with having 3 mixtures and having them restore an additional 80%, is just a massive amount of healing. And then I'll take Starting Well off. It's still good. Potentials are going to be way more expensive than in my other videos, but even if I can just get one more potential before a boss fight, it can make a huge difference. Then I'll be taking Potential Discovery, since I'm not going to have the potential selection options that I usually do. This will just help me get through a lot of the bad options that I don't want. And then Burden Removal to remove debuffs, and Discount for the shop discounts. Discount is still very, very good, even in 100 entropy, I feel like. Shops are still broken in 100 entropy, which is funny. They're not nearly as broken as the other runs that I've done, though. I'll also be turning off advanced tactic spaces. Tactics in this game are not really that good, aside from most of the time you'll have like maybe around 4 to 6, sometimes up to 8 core tactics that will be pretty much all of your run, or doing all of the damage of your run in terms of tactics. And then the rest of your run is going to be carried by the potentials. So in this case, I'm taking Fire Spirit Detonation with Quick Split, and then Fire Spirit Assist and Dash Burn. Everything in these potentials is just to set up for the Fire Spirit Detonation, and then the Fire Spirit Detonation will be doing all of my tactic DPS, basically. The Fire Spirits themselves do a little bit of damage, but not much, and same with the Burn. So picking up any other tactics throughout the run is just completely unimportant to me. Tactics right now have a really bad scaling problem with high entropy stuff. where the damage you're getting out of your tactics just does not scale into the later areas of the boss HP and even regular enemy HP sometimes. So even with the shops nerf, I'm still going to be selling a lot of tactics back. I'll pick up Yukikaze since I saw it here. It's a good defensive option for boss fights. And then I'll probably take Electricity here. If I can get Impulses on my skill, that will help out with a lot of my room clearing. If I get Frost on my skill, that's also very good for extra boss DPS. Oh, here's a new one. They added in Legacy Lightning this patch too, but I don't think it's necessarily too good. If you need your skill slot for something else, then you could run Legacy Lightning. Impulses are very, very strong in this game, but the problem with Legacy Lightning is you're not able to apply them as often as with skill Lightning Impulses. So if you haven't seen some of my other videos, or the guide I did for Jin, the way that this set of tactics works is that when an enemy is burning and fire spirits hit that enemy, the fire spirits have a 50% chance to explode and deal 1,000 damage each. Oh, perfect. I got one of the really core things to my build, which is being able to dash 3 times. So basically, all you need to do with this tactics build is dash near enemies to get that fire debuff on them, and then as soon as you attack them, everything in the early parts of the run is just going to pretty much die immediately. It's going to deal a lot of DPS over the course of boss fights as well. So early game on Jin, I'm mostly relying on the Fire Spirits damage, and then for attacking, I'm mostly using my air attack close to the ground. Air attacks in general in this game are extremely good. Because they usually come out basically instantly on very early frames from hitting the button, and they have very little recovery time as well. So one of the reasons why shops and discounts are still really good on high entropy, even up to 100, is that your HP recovery is reduced at rest sites and after killing bosses. But buying HP here, I don't believe is reduced at all. And same goes for, that's why the mixtures are also very effective. The mixture healing doesn't seem like it gets reduced at all. I'd prefer to have Impulse upgrade or Large Pulse, but let me think. I think it's fine to sell this and wait a little bit longer. So here you can see that potentials are 263 cost now, which is very high. I'm not going to be able to continuously buy a lot of them throughout the course of the run, but I'm still going to be able to buy a pretty decent amount of potentials, because selling a tactic gives me 130. You need to be up to at least 70 entropy before you can start reselling the tactics for 130. You can go into a Hyeltin Donka. I probably butchered the pronunciation of that, but oh well. You can go into this for Jin. It's a very strong way of dealing DPS to enemies, especially with the held version of it, but I don't really like that build personally. Perfect. Here's the second part of the dash build that I need. When I'm dashing, I'll ride icicles to dash forward, attacking enemies along the path. Let me check my... Okay. I just wanted to check my recording settings real quick. So here is something interesting to think about. I don't care about the 2 debuffs that are on the screen right now, but if I pass on the rest now, I'll get 3 more debuffs later. And if I get like 3 really bad debuffs in the next area, and I go to remove them there, these debuffs being in the way will make it more difficult to remove the ones I actually want to. And there's another really good example of... Oh, twice in a row. I got pretty much a free mixture there, and now a free potential. And remember that because of my Mind Crystal settings, my mixtures have extreme value. So me getting that for free in a shop has just so much value throughout the course of the run. And then here, I'll be taking MP cost is halved for my basic skill. That's going to be a way of applying the Lightning Impulse debuff that I got. But even if I didn't go into that route, I would pick up the MP cost anyways. Ah, that was stupid. I shouldn't have taken damage there. First boss fight goes down extremely easily, and a lot of that was due to luck, but the tactics selection that I made going into the run makes such a huge difference in 100 entropy. I said before that tactics are generally not that strong in this game, aside from the few core tactics you want on your build. And that's kind of like half true. I probably didn't explain it completely fully. Tactics will usually carry you through the first 1, 2, 3 areas, depending on the tactics. And then after that is usually where the enemy scaling starts to get a little more out of hand for how much DPS the tactics deal. So good legacy tactics can always carry you through at least the first area of the game. And then the farther into the game you go, your character gets a lot stronger than your tactics. So the reason I recommend... hang on a second, let me look at these. Triple jump is always nice to get if it comes up at any time, just for having extra aerial height to dodge enemy attacks. But the other thing that you really need to pay attention to with triple jump is when you get knocked away, you can press jump to recover your stance. That one is very important in the Susano boss fight. With some of Susano's attacks, they'll kind of launch you into the air and multi-hit you. But if you have that jump recovery, you can get out of them. So the reason I recommend the halved MP cost for Jin is that it's a very good way of disrupting enemies. Either to throw it out before I go in on the enemies, or just if I see like projectile enemies on one side of the screen, and I need to go for other projectile enemies on the other side, I can kind of disrupt a lot of the map at the same time. So like there is a perfect example. I cast out my skill, it knocks down all the enemies, and then I'm completely safe to dash into them. And then if you have enough money to refresh the buffs before the run, like I said, you can take fast kill MP recovery, and I should really never have NP issues in regular enemy rooms. This is another really great option to pick up just whenever you see it in the run. It can be used as an early attacking method, or it can be picked up later as well. Even though I have 5 mixtures, I'm not gonna mess with anything that reduces my HP. It's really just not worth it either. Since I've started with my core tactics, I don't really care about picking up more throughout the run. That's gonna change for you, of course, depending on how good your legacy tactics are. Since I got basically both of my needed... hang on a second. Don't think this is going to be worth it. It's 1 HP mixture for basically 1 potential. It's even less than a potential. And with the Mind Crystal setup I took, HP mixture is almost equivalent to a full HP bar. You have to be much more careful about refreshing the shops on really high entropies like 100 as well. On lower entropy settings, before you start increasing the shop prices, it's really not too much of an issue to refresh the shop. I don't really advise going Crystal Moonstorm on Jin. I don't know, maybe there's something that I missed about it, but it just never really feels worth the time it takes to use. It has a pretty long attacking animation, and then it does really low damage on top of that. It's a guaranteed freeze on enemies, sure, but you don't really need that freeze most of the time if you're killing enemies fast enough or just keeping them in hit stun with constant attacks. Aside from enemies that have super armor, of course, or bosses. But overall, I just never really found a good use for it. Oh, right. Another thing that I didn't mention. I will be taking this upgrade for burn, and probably the other one if I see it too, where burn ticks happen faster. Burn is something I'm going to constantly have on enemies, so even if it's not dealing high DPS, it's going to add up to quite a bit of damage throughout the course of some of the longer boss fights. So what I didn't mention is that I was really aiming for the Triple Dash and the Icicle Dash this run. Triple Dash is something that's just really broken in general in this game. If you see it, you should always pick it up. You get so many more invincibility frames out of being in the triple dashes back-to-back that it makes a lot of the boss attacks much easier to avoid. And then the reason why I wanted the Icicle Dash with Jin is that... So remember, when I dash, I apply a burn to enemies, and then when my fire spirits hit an enemy, they explode, or they have a chance to explode, dealing very high damage. Since Jin's Icicle Dash is obviously a dash attack, or a dash, it applies the burn, and then the icicle itself is considered an attack. So what that basically means for my tactic setup is that I dash into things and instantly apply the exploding fire spirits, which are doing most of my DPS for most of the run. I'll probably start heading into Universal Enhancement 2 as well, since I've picked up enough potentials throughout the run already. I have most of the... or I think I might have all of the ones I want. I'll head into Black Market, but I don't know if I'm going to take it or not. I could probably take Death refreshes here, that would be good. Both of these would probably be good, but I think I'm just not going to take either one of them. I don't want to finish the 100 entropy run and have it be because of something like I was able to die extra times on bosses or throughout the run. I want these runs to be pretty recreatable if other people see my run and want to try out the character for themselves. So that's why I don't want to go real heavily into buying buffs at the beginning or excluding debuffs. And I might just avoid black market on every run as well. The only thing that'll be tougher for people to follow is having the correct tactics. But there's a pretty easy method of setting up your legacy tactics. All you have to do is go on to the easiest difficulty settings, normal, with everything like debuffed as much as possible. And then, while you're playing your run, only take tactics that you want to pass on at your legacy. Sell any other tactics you find. That way, with most tactics in the game, you can always end at having 3 to 5 tactics by the time you end the run. There's some red effects that take more than 5 tactics to get to, but those are the few exceptions. I should probably go ahead and take Legacy Black Hole here. I don't really like playing with it personally, but it's something I should really show off. It is a very overpowered tactic in terms of it doesn't do DPS for you, but the utility of it is extremely high. I could pick this up, since there's not really a whole lot I actually need. This is good once you get more upgrades for it, but the problem is you really need at least the skill itself and then the MP cost. And then you also kind of need you can shoot 2 arrows. So maybe now the more I think about it, I might not pick it up. I don't really want this either, but I'll take this. So I guess another thing I should mention is that Jin does have a timing mechanic that I picked up at some point, where if you time your strikes perfectly after the last one, you get extra damage to them. But another nice thing with this build for other people is that you don't have to use these timing mechanics at all. This build, you can basically just rely on the dash attacks and do whatever you want, as long as you're applying the burn debuff. Alright, well that's gonna finish off the universal enhancements, so now everything I do will slow and freeze enemies, and the freeze will last longer. I think overall it's very good, but it's not something you want to really prioritize on Jin. It's more of like a bonus if you get the other things that you need. And the other thing that's going to be really hard for people to try and follow my run as well is that your luck on shops and potentials is going to be completely different. So this run's actually very, very insane in terms of how many potentials I have in a 100 entropy run. This is very above average. Pulsing Lightning is a very important upgrade to go for if you're going down any kind of skill impulse build route. Skill lightning is very, very strong in this game, and it's just strong on its own without any upgrades, but when you get the large pulse and pulsing lightning is when it really becomes strong, or when you combine it with thunder and lightning with attack lightning. So what pulsing lightning does is that... hang on. I'm going to go for rest here, since I have the Afterlife Bombs and Intermittent Thunders. Those are two of the worst the worst debuffs in the game. The worst debuffs to look out for are Intermittent Thunder, Intermittent Butterflies. There's something about enemy extra armor. I don't remember exactly what the name of the debuff is, but something about enemy armor. And then Afterlife Bombs is the fourth one. The Intermittent Thunder, the Afterlife Bombs, and the Intermittent Butterflies are all just things that can... They add more sources of damage onto the screen, which can really screw you up if you're not clearing out the enemies fast enough. And the Afterlife Bombs are especially difficult for melee characters to deal with. Luckily, if you've got the dash attacks with Jin, it's not really a whole lot of an issue, because you can kind of just dash through the enemies. Alright, time for me to focus for a minute. Okay, well that went very, very well, surprisingly. That room wasn't too bad, but you have to really watch out for the rooms that say you need to kill a certain amount of enemies or survive a certain amount of time. Those rooms are generally much more difficult than regular rooms. In particular, the survival ones tend to have a lot of projectile-based enemies at once. I guess I might pick it up here anyways, because I only have 2 refreshes left anyways at this point. Jin's SP skill is really garbage at the time of recording this. It does almost no damage at all, and it takes way too long to charge the SP for it. So I'll show it off here, if it will even go off. There we go. Did I just get all my SP back? That's interesting. Maybe not as bad as I thought it was for regular enemy clearing? Yeah, I got like half the SP back. So I guess it's not as bad as I thought it would be. It's nothing that's going to do boss DPS for you, but maybe it's decent for room clearing. One of the really big issues with it, though, is that if you don't have the Universal Enhancement 2, like I do, it's much, much harder to stack up the SP for it, because only certain moves will slow or freeze. It won't be all of them, like what I have right now. So another thing you need to pay attention to when you're doing high entropy runs is options like this. So one of the entropy settings is that I only have a certain amount of time to clear each area. That's in the top left. You can see I have 3 minutes and 18 seconds here. So while getting a potential is good for making my character stronger, I also have to consider the minute or so that the potential would probably take me to get. Potentials and tactics always take you into a combat stage, while exchanges, events, sortitions, and black markets take you into just a special stage like this. By going into these event types of stages, I don't reduce my timer at all, and that's one of the things that makes shops so good, even despite having several nerfs to the shop. Events and sortitions are okay, but they're really not that good in terms of progressing your character a lot of the times. They're both just way too random. Was that my Fubiki damage? Something just did a ton of damage to Nan there. It was probably the fire, like a really good RNG roll on the fire spirits. I think I'm gonna play it safe. I probably wouldn't HP mixture there, but I have so many of them this run that I'm perfectly fine with using one there. So another thing that I've picked up over the course of the run that I didn't mention yet is the MP enhanced version of Fubiki, and I forgot the other one, even though I just said it like a couple of seconds ago. But the MP enhanced version of Fubiki and the other one are both very good, especially with the universal enhancement to freeze and freeze for longer. The range increase alone of the enhanced version of Fubiki lets me attack from a long ways away, and the MP cost is so low that as long as I'm not just spamming it constantly, I don't run out of MP. And then I think it's Fubiki is the up and attack version, is really good for keeping enemies frozen. Anyways, I need to go use the restroom, so there'll be a quick cut in the video, but we'll be right back. Alright, we are back. Let me take a look at my debuffs real quick, and then we'll be good to go. So I really should try and get rid of this debuff if I can. The mixtures are something I could get rid of, but 20% less HP isn't going to do a whole lot, especially with how much I've been increased mixture healing in general. But a 30% damage cut is going to make the Susano fight take a lot longer, because Susano is going to have like 230,000 HP. And now it's time... Wow, that looks like a very close Susano. But I think... I don't know, I think this might be one of the layouts that it looks close, but it's actually very far away. Omega Sector is a really fucked up part of the run in high entropy. Omega Sector and Susano's HP pool are both really... I don't know, they could use some work. Because the problem here is that I'm at 5 minutes of my timer right now. I actually might hit... Yeah, this is a very, very close Susano spawn. So this is a terrible example of what I wanted to talk about. But sometimes you can come into Omega Sector with like 5 minutes and be down to 3 or even less by the time you get to Susano. It just depends on... Your Omega Sector layout is completely random, so sometimes you get to him quick and sometimes you don't. Even if you make it to Susano with like 5 minutes left, 4 minutes left, you can see here he has 220,000 HP, and he has 3 phases. It's very, very difficult to clear out Susano in time. Anyways, let me get my boss theme ready here, Hakaishin. And this is going to be make or break for the run. Jin, the hardest part of any Jin run is going to be Susano, because his DPS is just not... It doesn't keep up with Susano's HP here. So I'm gonna shut up and pay attention to the fight. There we go. That was a very, very clean 100 entropy run in general. Couple pretty bad mistakes on the Susano fight, but not bad at all. And the run in general was very, very clean. A lot of that had to do with me getting very, very lucky on potential selections and shops. Like I said, I had a lot more potentials at the end of the run than is typical for a lot of my 100 entropy runs. Alright, so that'll do it for Jin. 100 entropy cleared in 19 minutes is really good. If it wouldn't have been for the Susano fight taking that long, Jin would have a very, very fast clear. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. There will be a couple more 100 entropy runs coming up soon for a couple of my favorite characters, and then I'll probably be taking a break from Entropy Effect for a while. But we'll still have a couple more videos, like I said, doing 100 entropy on a couple more characters, and then we'll see where things go from there. I do probably plan on making a couple more guides somewhere along the way as well. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.